What is up, though, Lions fans? It's your boy, Motor City Don P. We are back here once again, and you already know what time it is. It is time for us to talk about stuff, and we got some stuff that we're going to talk about today. Mike Kafka, anyone? Defense, anyone? Super Bowl, anyone? Bunch of BS, anyone? You already know what time it is when you see me front your TV. Number one, one thing is for certain, and three things are for sure. Number one, the Motor City Cats are indeed back at it. We came to give you stats, not none of that static. And number three, perhaps the most important number of them all, number three. Want to make sure you keep your Lions news pragmatic. And you may be asking yourself, how, Don? How, Mr. P, does one keep their Lions news pragmatic? Well, it's very simple. I'll tell you. I don't hold back nothing. The information is free. I give it to you. Smash like button, subscribe, share with your peoples. And once you've done those things, those three things, and it doesn't matter in which order you've done those things in, you have indeed kept your Lions news pragmatic. And speaking of your peoples, when you share this stream with your mothers, your brothers, your fathers, your sisters, your cousins, your uncles, your brothers, your fathers, your sisters, your mothers, you name it, it is in you have indeed cared about those people. We're gonna go ahead and get into what we got to get into. What up, though, everybody in the chat? What up, though, just a fan? What up, though? Tactical Sport, Brent DeWitt. Who that just came in? Josh Prince 4214. What up, though? All right. So we'll start with your comments. So, what did the Lions feel full bald head was too much, so they hired a half bald offensive coach too? It's possible. Love to hire a good backup plan by Dan. If Drew doesn't work, he can plug and play without having to call plays. We're going to address that. Did they really hire him? Been out the loop all day. Yes, they did. Welcome to Detroit, Mike. What up, though, Herb Gotti? All right. So before I forget, we're gonna have to adjust tomorrow's show time. So let me know if you guys prefer me, and it's just for tomorrow because I gotta make some money. If you prefer me to go like 7 p.m., which is the old time, or if you prefer closer to 10 p.m. Because when I get finished, um, closer to 10 p.m. with what we would be doing. And either way, I'm gonna have to do whichever one of these in my car. If we said, yeah, probably closer to 10 p.m. would also be in the car because the people of the house would be up and about at that point in time. But you guys let me know. All right. Here is what we're talking about. Firstly, we're going to talk about the Mike Kafka hire. Irv Gotti says closer to 10 p.m. Okay. We're going to talk about the Mike Kafka hire. So if you guys have been out of the loop all day like Tactical Sport, if you guys don't know, Mike Kafka was hired by the Detroit Lions as he doesn't have a title. He's just a high level offensive assistant. We don't know what that means. We don't know what he's going to be doing, and that's why I titled the show "What is Mike Kafka um, doing in Detroit?" Right? I don't know what he's going to do. Um, I don't know what this means for David Shaw. I don't know what this means for Scotty Montgomery. Apparently, Scotty Montgomery has taken OC interviews. He's interviewing for the OC position in Baltimore. I think David Shaw took some interviews. He's more of a Johnny Moe guy, and Johnny Moe got fired. And that's one thing that I want to talk about, that angle. The other thing is Brent DeWitt's angle. And I've heard this from multiple people, and I want to ask you the question. He says, "Love the hire, good backup plan by Dan. If Drew doesn't work, he can plug and play without having to call plays." Now, I'm not being negative at all. I like to look at things from all angles. If that's the case, if you felt that you needed to bring in a fail safe, then didn't you fail with the first hire? That's just my question. If you felt the need to bring in a fail safe, then you felt that the first hire would fail. You've already brought in Johnny Moe with no parachute, no net, nothing to catch his fall. Are you learning from your past mistakes, or did you just have a knee jerk reaction to hire Group Pretzel? Because I asked that question because there's someone who is going to be involved in the Super Bowl who is another person that you interviewed for your offensive coordinator position, and that's Jake Peets. We got pets, but we were looking for Peets. That's crazy, right? So you had Jake Peets, and he was available. You interviewed him. I don't know, but he is the Seattle Seahawks pass game coordinator. Cool. You hired a guy that wasn't even listed on your interviews. Again, my question is, did you make the wrong move if that's the angle that we're going with? Did you second guess yourself and say, "Oh, we need to bring someone else in here"? That's the first angle. I'm gonna see what y'all are saying. Um, 10 would be better for me. It gives me time to get in and out of the gym. Okay. The regulars have spoken. We'll do it closer to 10. Um, run game, pet sing, pass game, Kafka. Okay, cool. That's another that's another angle I wanted to talk about. Okay. So run game, pet sing, or pretzel, as I like to call him, pass game, Kafka. If you are the offensive coordinator and you can't call a good pass game and you can't marry the run and the pass game yourself, and you are calling plays, did we not just have a similar situation where you had a guy that was calling plays, but he had input from 45 different coaches, and then it didn't work, and then you had to take away his play calling duties, and you called plays from week 10 on. I I know there's a run game coordinator, there's a pass game coordinator, and there's an OC who coordinates both of those things together and then calls plays. So I get that it's done. It just feels to me kind of disjointed if that's the way that we're looking at the hire. If we're saying, okay, well, one guy's going to do this and the other guy's going to do that. And then there has to be a marrying together of philosophies and a coming together at the table. Again, I'm just playing devil's advocate here. Like a lot of people seem to rationalize it, but I feel like if you are hired as an offensive coordinator and then we have to bring in someone to coordinate your pass game because you're not good at passing the football. That seems a little bit asinine. Y'all get what I'm saying? Like, I just we're not confident in Group Pretzel to oversee the pass game. Again, I know what a pass game coordinator does. I know what a run game coordinator does. But I've never heard of hiring a guy as your offensive coordinator who half of the offense he's not good at calling and he's not good at coordinating. So you bring in another guy. Now, the fans in Arizona would say, okay, he can't scheme wide receivers open, but then also you have Marvin Harrison being wide open, dropping wide open passes. So which one is it? That's just my question. So let me get to your comments. Didn't we interview someone who could have satisfied both roles? And that's I'm getting there. I'm getting there. I'm getting. Why waste the money on Drew if we don't trust him? It's exactly. This is the point. So the all the stuff that I've been hearing all day about this was that Dan hired Mike Kafka because he didn't trust Gru Pretzel. And I'm like, okay, if you didn't trust him, why hire him? I don't think that that's what's happening here because that makes absolutely no sense. Okay? That makes absolutely no sense because Dan knew his job was on the line if Gru Pretzel fails. So instead of just saying, let me put all my eggs in the Gru Pretzel basket like I did with the Johnny Mo basket, I am going to now bring in a fail safe. And because this guy has a huge blind spot in what we call the passing game, though he's an offensive coordinator who can only scheme up and call the run properly, but he can't scheme up and call the pass properly. So we got to bring in someone else. I don't understand if this is the case, and this is all speculation. We don't know. We don't even know what Mike Kafka's title is. If that's the case, how does that make sense? Just as Tactical Sports said, there was a guy that we brought in and interviewed, and we seemed to like him that satisfied both roles. He was great with the run, great with the pass, right? He's shown that he could work with a quarterback. I'm not gonna put Jared Goff in there. Jared Goff is eons better than Tua. Um, how about this? He's shown that he could work with a quarterback that has questionable physical tools, right? There's questions about Tua's arm strength. There's question about Jared Goff's arm strength. I've seen Jared Goff hit Jameson Williams 50 yards down the field. I think it just looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, but he's got more zip on the ball than I think we give him credit for. It just doesn't look pretty. That's all. Um, but I can also see why the Detroit Lions have said that Mike McDaniel is not a fit. And it's a very simple reason. Commitment. Commitment is the reason that I'm going to give you for Mike McDaniel not being a fit. I can't give you schematic fit. I can't give you X's and O's fit. I can't give you he doesn't know how to run the ball fit. I can't give you he's not going to be able to maximize Jamison Williams fit. Hello, Tyreek Hill. I can't give you any of those things. The only thing I can give you is commitment because Mike McDaniel, while he's been offered a job and he got the same type of deal that Brian Flores got, right? If you don't go get a head coaching job, you are the offensive coordinator of the Los Angeles Chargers. And with Brian Flores, again, not getting the Pittsburgh Steelers job back in Minnesota is what it looks like, right? So uh Mike McDaniel still taking head coaching interviews. He's supposed to head interview for the Bills job. I don't know what's taking so long with that because there's another guy that they're interviewing before him. But that's the only thing that I could say. Commitment. Mike McDaniel wants to be a head coach, and he was going to take the job. I don't want to say begrudgingly, but he'd rather be a head coach. This is why he hasn't settled down in Los Angeles. That being said, if Mike McDaniel and we're going off of pure speculation here with the Groove Pretzel situation. If Mike McDaniel is the guy that can marry the run game and the pass game together expertly well, I'm sure he's not going to be the only person who's hired as an offensive coordinator who can do both things. So if this is what Mike Kafka is here for, to oversee the passing because Groove Pretzel can't do it, why did we have to hire the one guy who's going to get hired in this cycle who can't do both? That's my question. Yeah, and feel free to answer that question in the chat. Um, all right. So it says we need to do the same on defense, zone coordinator. Oh, we're gonna get to that. We gotta get to that. Raheem Morris is out there, doesn't have a job yet. Coach Shep needs help for sure. He says zone coordinator. There's more to the story than the fans know. That's absolutely, absolutely. We don't know anything, including his title. He's just a high level offensive assistant. That's it. Wait a minute. Is Mike Kafka coming in as assistant head coach? He may be the assistant head coach if I think Scotty Montgomery is still that, but if he leaves and goes somewhere else, we're gonna need a new assistant head coach. Is it gonna be Hank Fraley? I mean, Hank Fraley had a bigger role in the offense, and Hank Fraley is the offensive line coach, and we couldn't run the football. So we went from 4th to 23rd. So I don't know. I just got here, thought we'd be more excited. Kafka's clear replacement for Scotty Montgomery and pairs fantastically with Pet Singh. What a hire. I know they're like friends. I'm again. I don't know what he's here to do. So I can't really get excited. I'm not poo-pooing the hire. I'm looking at it from all of the theories that I've heard today. Right? The theories that I've heard. And I'm like, well, if those theories are the least bit true, then the hiring of Pretzel doesn't make sense. That's what I'm saying. I'm not upset that we hired Mike Kafka. I'm not poo-pooing it. I'm not doing any of that. Right? I'm just trying to rationalize if any of these theories are correct, then what was the reason for hiring Pretzel? That's all I'm saying. Um, The funny thing is when Goff was at Cal, he had a little bit of wiggle and could constantly hit a 50-yard pass. Maybe he lost the wiggle in that in Los Angeles. Maybe he lost it because Jeff Fisher was his coach. And he came in with that BS. Funny, seems like there is a doctor for just about that. Wonder if Kafka can give out prescriptions. Kafka made a lot of poopy decisions in New York. Kafka was an interim head coach, and also didn't Malik Neighbors, Cam Scatterboo, uh, Jackson Dart was hurt from time to time, missed a lot of time with concussions and things like this. So, I mean, he did really well with Wandell Robinson. We definitely couldn't cover him. We couldn't cover him. Famous Jameis came in and put up 500 yards of offense on us. So, does that say more about Mike Kafka's ability or our inability on defense, which we're going to talk about? What does Brad and Dan need to do to prove to the fans that they are serious about winning a championship and on the same page as fans? I don't think they are serious. I'll tell you what they need to do in a second. And it's going to go into our other part of this conversation. They say David Shaw might be leaving as well. Yeah, I've heard that he's doing some interviews elsewhere. Well, Melvin throwing shots at the fans isn't going to work. That's also not going to help. Brad and Dan need to be throwing the kitchen sink at players and new coaching staff. All right. So again, the Mike Kafka thing, like I said, I'm not on the fence. I am just waiting to hear what he's actually going to be doing, what his actual role is, and things of that nature. The Super Friends aspect of him and Drew Petzing, okay, or Drew Pretzel. We just had that with David Shaw and Johnny Mo. That doesn't guarantee anything's gonna work. Again, I hope it does work. I'm I'm actually, because we hired Mike Kafka, I'm actually more optimistic about the offense being able to work next season. So I will say that. What he's doing, what his actual role is, how much he has to do with the game plan, how much he has to do with play calling, how much he has to do with all that, with the offensive side of the ball, that remains to be seen. And once we get his actual um title, then we'll be able to dive deeper into that situation. Pause. Um, could we have hired Brian Flores as a DC consultant special position? So what happened with that is that Minnesota gave him a deal that was like, if you're not taking a head coaching job, you back with us. Kafka is who I asked for from the start. I do remember that. Um, so yeah, I was never Kafka over McDaniel. I thought that was silly. Listen, Kafka over McDaniel was silly to me because we've seen the body of work that Mike McDaniel was able to do to parlay. He was able to parlay that as a run game coordinator for Kyle Shanahan into a head coaching job. And then he was saddled with a mid quarterback. Not only was he saddled with a mid quarterback, um, that quarterback was always hurt. So the majority of the time that Mike McDaniel was in Miami, he was playing with people like Skylar Thomas or Thompson or whatever his name is, and Mike White and people like this. And he still was in contention year in and year out. I think this year it just got away from the Tyreek Hill situation and all that other stuff. But the fact that there are people out here that don't like Mike McDaniel They're like, "Oh, look what he did in Miami. Like he couldn't control that team." Well, he's an offensive coordinator. He wouldn't have to control the team, right? This isn't about being a leader of men and all this other stuff as the head coach. This is about being a phenomenal offensive mind. So when you look at the phenomenal offensive mind, okay, example, you look at Tyrone Tracy in in New York, and you go, "Oh yeah, he looks good for who he is." Right? Mike Kafka got the best out of him. And then you go, you look at Mike McDaniel, and you look at his run game and his scheme and all that other stuff, and you go, wow, that's really good. That's awesome. I mean, he's got Devon A Chain looking like a machine. Imagine what he could have done for Jameer Gibbs, because I think Gibbs is a better back, right? Oh, he's got this, he swaps out Raheem Mostert and he brings in what's his name, Ollie Gordon, or I think that's his name, who's a rookie, right? Ali Gordon's a rookie. He brings him in. He has a decent season. Oh, what could he do with David Montgomery? Right? Can you honestly say, and again, I'm not trying to throw shade at Kafka. Can you honestly say that you are more excited for our running game? And okay, we're going to remove Group Pretzel. Can you actually say that you'd be more excited for our running game with Jameer Gibbs and David Montgomery under Mike Kafka than you would have been under Mike McDonald or Mike McDaniel? Because Mike McDonald, that's some other bullish. That's my question. Flores has already signed an extension with the Vikings, so he will either be a head coach or the DC for the Vikings. Right. Agreed on Mikey D. Just thought unrealistic. Oh, it was very realistic. The only unrealistic thing, it becomes that way if he actually takes a head coaching job. The Buffalo Bills job is the last remaining one that I think he wants to take, because you get to work with Josh Allen and you're an offensive mind. I mean, imagine. So, if the Bills hire him, kudos. If they don't, he's in LA as the offensive coordinator. So I don't think it was very unrealistic. It was a we could have had the same 50-50 deal in place. Hey, we'll let you go out and get somebody, or we'll let you go out and get a head coaching position. But if you don't do that, then you revert back to the Detroit Lions as the offensive coordinator. Do you think Group Pretzel would not have been available? Do you think Mike Kafka would not have been available? Did Mike Kafka not interview for the Philly job, OC, and then come over here as a guy that has no title? He's he's just a high level. I told you that Philly job's not enticing. It's not. You have the whole AJ Brown situation. You have questions about Jalen Hurts. Is he mid? Is he, whatever? Is Saquon Barkley slowing down? Was it all Kevin Patula? But then again, the big thing, you got AJ Brown, you got Nick Sirianni, who's not likable. He's not a likable guy, right? So it's all of that stuff makes the Philly job not as enticing as people think it is. I've been living 20 minutes from MetLife for 20 plus years and never heard of Mike Kafka until he took over the New York Football Giants a few weeks ago, or whenever it was. No, he played for Andy Reid uh in Kansas City. And he coached under Andy Reid as well. So yeah, Mike Kafka's had a name. He's had a name. Kafka needs a rebound. He may have bested Detroit and another. That's it. The 5 losses were horrible or set that way. Again, Mike Kafka as interim head coach with your superstar wide receiver gone for the season, with your up and coming running back gone for the season, with your rookie quarterback who can't stay in the game because of concussion issues. I don't I don't look at Mike Kafka's tenure as a head coach and say anything about him. It was an interim situation. Actually, if we're being honest, any coach that any head coach that's going to be taking a coordinator job. He's a head coach, he's defensive. Like I'm begging you to bring in Raheem Morris. Raheem Morris did not have a great stint in Washington when he was the head coach. He didn't have a great stint in Atlanta as a head coach. I don't care about any of that because he's not coming in here as a head coach. He's coming in here doing what he does best, which is be a defensive mind. Mike McDaniel, whatever you want to say about him in Miami as a head coach, that's fine. I don't care about that because he was coming in here to be an offensive coordinator. He's an offensive mind. We're using his mind for offense. We're using a guy's mind for defense, how they are able to understand and execute and teach that side of the football. That's all that matters when we're talking about a coordinator. If you failed as a head coach, so what? It doesn't matter, right? You are a head coach. You had all types of responsibilities. As an offensive coordinator, you're responsible for offense only. As a defensive coordinator, you're responsible for defense only. You're not responsible for the whole team, which means you're responsible for offense, defense, and special teams, which means you're responsible um, for hiring staff members and so on and so forth. You're not responsible for any of those things if you're not a head coach. So no, I don't look at a person who failed as a head coach and say, well, they failed as a head coach, they can't be a good coordinator. I don't. I don't do that. You guys shouldn't either. Uh, what up, though, Mr. Morale 313? Um, again, for those of you who are just getting in or who have been here for a few minutes, tomorrow's show is going to be closer to 10 p.m. Um, yeah, I'll probably be doing it from my car. It just depends. I'll be back on my side of town around 10:30. I don't know if that's late to start the show, but you guys let me know. Um, I don't think many people were beating down Pat Singh's door for a job anywhere. Right. He would have been available. So if you said, okay, Mike, you go do your search, and if you don't, and if you do, good luck. We'll see you during the season. Now we can hire Group Pretzel. You know what I mean? What you mean level three? Um, he called the players in New York, stop making excuses for him. I'm just saying, hope he does better. I'm not making any excuses for him. What part of that did I did you see me making excuses for him? I I don't get that one. I said as a head coach, he called the players in New York under Brian Daboll, right? Okay, but he's not being brought here to call plays. That's the other situation. Drew Pretzel is going to be the play caller, right? If anything, he's going to have input as the pass game coordinator or whatever the case may be. Damn, Raheem was an HC in the NFL when he was 33. Yeah, I think that's when he got the Washington job. Oh, the weather. I said as a head coach, his interim game, because you were talking about the Lions game and you said five others, right? So what I'm saying to you is I'm not gonna look at an interim head coach anyway The fact that you are an interim head coach means you are in a situation that is untenable, right? You're there because someone got fired, right? So you didn't have a chance to bring in your own staff, whatever. You were actually on the staff of the guy that got fired. But the injuries and the players available, right? But you did come in to Detroit and almost win with a backup quarterback, with backup weapons, and all that stuff. So I don't know what I don't. I'm guessing you don't like the Mike Kafka hire. Again, I'm not saying it's a great hire. I'm not saying it's a bad hire. I'm just saying I want to know what he does. So I can't really have an opinion because I don't even know what he's here to do. That's why the title of the show is So What is Mike Kafka doing in Detroit? I don't know. And no one knows because it hasn't been announced what his official title is going to be. Uh e- exactly. There we go. That question right there is why I'm like I'm not. I don't have any hot takes. I don't have any emotions about it. I'm just going off of when we speculate about Mike Kafka was brought in because Gru Pretzel is gonna fail. I'm like, well, why the hell would you hire Gru Pretzel in the first place? That's my whole, will Drew be here for administrative stuff and Kafka will call plays? At the so again, at this point, if you did that, why did you hire Gru Pretzel? If you hired an offensive coordinator and then you hired another guy who's a high level offensive assistant, and then you give play calling to that guy, what's the point of you hiring that offensive coordinator? Do you see what I'm saying? What up, though, Zach J? Zach J, the show will be late tomorrow. It'll be somewhere around 10 p.m. So just letting you know because you just got here. Um, and I think that works out for everybody anyway, because a lot of y'all be coming in late. It's all good. It's all good. Thanks for the heads up. No problem. All right. So yeah, that's the Mike Kafka stuff. Again, we don't know what he's doing. We don't know what his title is. We don't know how to have in the offense. We don't know. Nah, you misunderstood. He needs a rebound. I just knew what he did in NY. He doesn't make it here. He go back being a question in the books. Okay. That's all good. Um the other side of the football is the defense. Now, again, I read you guys some a tweet thread last time, and I forgot I was supposed to open up the phone lines. Let me do that. Let me open up these phone lines. Um because I keep forgetting. I said during the off season. So I'll put the link in, and if you want to call in and talk about anything, um, you can do that. You can call in. You can keep your camera on. You can turn your camera off. It's up to you. All right. Um, have y'all uh, have y'all been watching these playoffs and noticing a trend? The final four teams for championship week or weekend were the Denver Broncos, number one in sacks, the New England Patriots, super good defense, the Los Angeles Rams, very good defense, Better offense, but very, very good defense. Seattle Seahawks, phenomenal defense. The Seattle Seahawks and the New England Patriots are in the Super Bowl. These are what? Patriots number 1, Seahawks number 4, something like that. Right? The number 1 and the number 4 defense or 2 top 5 defenses are in the Super Bowl. So my question to you, and this is the question. With all the holes that we have, is it how do we fix the defense? That's my question. How do we fix the defense? We always talk about injuries and things like this. We can never get the defense on the field at the same time. It looked decent in 2024 when we went 15-2. The defense looked decent until everybody got injured. It was like a top 5 defense in the first few weeks of the season, and then everyone started getting injured. We have no idea what's going on with Kirby Joseph's knee. That issue is not something that you just fix with surgery. We have no idea when Brian Branch is going to be back and what he's going to look like when he gets back. We can all hope that he looks more like Aiden Hutchinson than Aleem McNeil, but we do not know. But by the time he gets back this season, it's going to be down the stretch. It's going to be playoff push time, hopefully, for us. It's going to be playoff push for all the teams that are going to the playoffs. And hopefully we're in the playoffs next season. Terrion Arnold, I have less question marks than a lot of you. A lot of people don't like Terrion Arnold. I've told you, I see the skill. I see the technique. It's there. You know, he had his moments this season. He was having some good games, and then he got injured. Um, and I think the fact that he had 2 injuries this season is, people are kind of writing him off as an injury risk. But the first injury that he got was supposed to put him out for the season, and I think he missed like 2 or 3 games. Uh, and then he laid the wood on somebody with that shoulder, pause, and that was it for him. I've heard this about DJ Reed. I think DJ Reed's gonna be fine, but, he struggled against, like, CeeDee Lamb, that you would struggle against, him. Devontae Adams, you would struggle against him. Uh, uh and name a top tier upper echelon wide receiver, and it's okay for him to struggle. No, you're just not that good. I understand. I understand. Those guys are really good, but you can't be made to look like a little boy when you're going up against those guys. You can't be giving up, 10 catches for 150 yards and 3 touchdowns. You can't be doing stuff like that. No one is calling him elite like a Darrell Revis. You wouldn't expect him to struggle against anybody. But if you're expecting DJ Reed to struggle against the upper echelon receivers, then he's just a run of the mill cornerback that you're paying $16 million a year to. If you can justify that He's supposed to struggle against these guys because they're better than you're paying an average cornerback $16 million a year. Does that make sense? Carlton Davis is in the Super Bowl. Just last year, Carlton Davis was in Detroit. But because you didn't want to give him the extra $4 million per year that he got in New England, well, he's going to help New England win a Super Bowl if they win it, instead of helping Detroit get to their first one. And then many people thought that it was a lateral move. DJ Reed, Carlton Davis. No, you took a step back. More than just one step. We are the only team, or one of the only teams, that plays with 3 linebackers in today's NFL. Why do we do that? Somebody said earlier we need to hire a zone coordinator for Kelvin Shepherd. Why are we so man heavy when we don't have the horses? You know who can be man heavy? The New England Patriots, because they got Christian Gonzalez and Carlton Davis. You know who can be man heavy? Seattle Seahawks, because they got Rick Woolen and they've got Devon Witherspoon. And they got Nick Emanwari back there, who was a rookie who was doing work. Look at the secondaries of this team, of these two teams. We've got a DB snob who is our GM, and the only 2 DBs that were really up there, who were really like that, who we knew that Kirby and Brian were like that. They were solidified like that. They're injured. I think Terrion can be like that. I think it's very ironic that Terrion Arnold has a podcast called Closed on Sundays with the best cornerback in the league. And he's going to be trash. I don't think so. I don't think he's going to allow himself to be trash. I think that podcast is motivation. You're sitting next to the best cornerback in the league right now, and you're trying to talk about football, and you can't even hold his jockstrap. That's why I don't think that's going to be the scenario. I think Terrion is going to be fine. He's just got to make sure that he stays on the field. But what else do we have in the secondary? Ennis Rakestraw? Okay, cool. Let me know when he plays a game. I'll be waiting with my popcorn. So is this defense enough? Can we and how do we fix it? Because with all of the just like people are saying, hey, if Brad Holmes drafts a cornerback in the first round, I'm gonna be pissed. Well, I'm not gonna be pissed that he drafted a cornerback in the first round, because that means that he's trying to replace DJ Reed. But you know what? I'm gonna be pissed that we got to that point, because we need so many other things, and you tricked off all these 3rd round picks. Because you thought you were done. You thought, oh, I drafted 4 all pros. Let me just draft a bunch of bums now. And there were many Yahya Diaby, Colby Turner, so on and so forth, et cetera, et cetera. Many people drafted in the 3rd round after Hendon Hooker that did so much more work than any of these guys that we've drafted, including Manu, Hendon, Tesla, Broderick Martin. Again, Tesla probably going to be really good. Probably going to be very, very, very difficult for him to justify those 3 third-round picks. It's something he's not. You can't live up to it. I get it. He's a hometown kid. He grew up a Lions fan. That's awesome. 3 third-round picks, nah. And then you're coming out saying that maybe one of your biggest regrets was not drafting Puka Nacua. Take care of your third-round picks. But I don't see, what it is. The money, they're gonna have to get really creative with the money. And I'm gonna talk to y'all about the app because I put a GM mode in the app, so now you can restructure contracts, you can sign free agents and all that stuff, and all that can um it will change the team needs. So your mock drafts are gonna be different. They're gonna be more varied if you decide to use GM mode. I know. I know. It's awesome. Uh but that's it. Let me get to your comments and see what y'all got to say. But we are far from the defenses that are doing something in this league. I'm noticing this would have been a good year to not suck. LOL. Yeah. Yes, I have. All of the teams have had a far better defense than the Lions. Yes, the AFC looked horrible throughout. The AFC looked very defensive throughout. Funny. D Law said he was never gonna see a Super Bowl in Dallas. You're right. Seattle does have a good D though. Well, I've always been told that offense wins games, defense wins championships. But what do I know? According to Brad Holmes, you don't know much. According to Amon-Ra St. Brown, you don't know ball. To fix the defense, you start by resigning Davenport, Levi, and Pascal. I'm sorry. I had to. That's what you don't do, kids. They don't want to fix it. They believe they will just outscore everyone. And that would be awesome if you could. If you could just put up 50 points a game, no one would care about the defense. No one would. But the fact of the matter is, you can't. You can't. Well, DJ Reader may have BBR replaced. Everybody's saying Anzalone's on his way to the Jets, and nobody knows when Terrion's going to be ready. I mean, Terrion's going to be ready to go, by the offseason probably. But when is he going to be ready to take over the reins? I don't know. I like TDA. We need 2 OLs, 1 DL, and an LB to replace Anzalone. I think we need 2 defensive linemen because we need a defensive tackle. Reader and Lopez are leaving. Maybe resign Lopez, and then you got to get somebody on the other side of Hutch. Reed and Amik too short. That's why they struggle. No, they struggle because Reed, as I said, was in a sprinter stance. You saw him hauling ass whenever he gave up a pass because he was getting burnt. It was very reminiscent of Jeffrey Namumba or Hanokuda. I mean, he came out the block. They shot the gun and he was, getting after the person that just burnt him. It was crazy to me. It was crazy. May have to be replaced. I got you. Should have hired Terrell Williams as DC and signed Carlton Davis. Terrell Williams has cancer, so he wouldn't have helped you because he's been away from the Patriots all season. I would love for the Lions to modernize the defense. That's the one. When we first had Branch, he held down the nickel, and if he was the other safety, that defensive scheme was way more flexible. Yeah, that's true. I think when San Francisco decided to get Branch off the field, they decided not to do it much anymore. They really should get back to it. And when teams decide to take our nickel out, moving back. Yeah, that was to me, that was the natural reaction to okay, you want to take our guy off the field, we're not gonna let you take him off the field. He can play safety too. I didn't get that. I really didn't. I didn't get like why you did full time. Like, if you don't want the dude to come off the field, that's fine. He can be on the field full time. He can play nickel when it's necessary, which is most of the time, and then he can play safety whenever you need to move him back there. I didn't get it really in his suit. Right, right. DJ Reed was looking more like Will Harris than anyone. I'm so glad Will Harris is where is he in Pittsburgh? He's somewhere not getting cut. So I'm glad he's not getting cut because you know how these dudes are. You know how these dudes are. Will Harris will be back here, right? You know Brad and Dan. You know, Dan especially loves people that he's worked with before, who he's coached before, who have played under him. He loves those people. So don't be surprised if Will Harris gets cut or becomes a free agent. Don't be surprised to see him walk back through those doors. All right. Mailbag, mailbag. What you gonna do? What you gonna do when they read and you six mailbag? Get your mailbag questions in. Get them in. Bask in it. All right. Let's go ahead and get these mailbag questions in. I'll answer a few and then I will skedaddle. Again, tomorrow's show will be um uh close let's say 10:30. Right. Let's say 10:30. That'll give me an opportunity to um get somewhere. Um we're dealing with a heat wave today, so I don't know. It's like supposed to be like 100 degrees out. I don't know what it's going to be tomorrow. I mean, Melbourne, it could be 100 degrees today and 50 degrees tomorrow. So, who knows? I don't know what it's going to be like tomorrow, but it'll give me a chance to get somewhere so that if I do have to do it in my car, I won't have the AC blaring in the microphone. So yeah, I'll try to get back to the house. Mailbag, who do you think Aaron Glenn tries to poach from us? Definitely Alex Anzalone. Um, you might see him grab a Meek. Um, it's really the only two I can think of. You know, go ahead and take Pascal off our hands and Levi Onwuzurike and Marcus Davenport. That's great. You can have all of those guys, but probably just a Meek and Anzalone. I don't see anybody else. Maybe DJ Reader. You know, I don't know. DJ Reader doesn't really seem like a New York guy. You know what I mean? I don't know if he'd do that, but yeah, those are the realistic ones are Alex Anzalone and Amik Robertson. Um, Hopefully within the next couple of days, I'll have something to show you guys. I can show it to you um now, but there's some numbers that I have to get worked out. Um, I've got a whole NFL contracts 101 page so people that don't know about NFL contracts can go learn about them. Um, yeah, it's a whole GM mode, bro. You're able to make like trades. You're able to make, and this is all off season stuff. Leading up to the draft, and if you feel good about your team, um, and then I'll have a feature on there where you can like export your roster after all is said and done, and everybody can like you know uh share their rosters with each other, and it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be really interactive, and it's gonna be a real is how people will do mock drafts every day. Well, this is something that you can do that's going to be a whole lot different, and it's really going to um benefit you if you're a mock drafter, because you're like, oh, I'm basically creating a whole roster, and you're like, oh, I can do it better than Brad Holmes, like this. It'll be fun. Mailbag, who do you think was worse? Okuda. That's not even a question. It ain't even a question. How my dough flows. If you're good, you got those. Ladies, riding your bump like a Tahoe. What you ain't know is easy, but hear me though, baby girl. Best have my money for sure. But hashtag, if you know, you know. He said hashtag. Okuda it's not even a question, bro. Okuda was so trash because Okuda was the number 3 overall pick. Will Harris still has a role in this league. I don't know where Jeffrey Namumbo is. I think he was in Minnesota. I think Will Harris was like starting in Pittsburgh or wherever he was. So yeah, it's shout out Will Harris, man. Jeffrey Namumbo is worse. I thought I saw Aaron Glenn trying to poach Anzalone. Yeah, that's what everyone expects to happen. Everyone expects to happen. Um, for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about with the GM mode, am creating. I started out to just create a mock draft simulator, which is I was gonna do that last offseason, but I just couldn't get it done in time. And now what I've started out creating as a mock draft simulator has become like this all encompassing GM mode, NFL contract understander page. Like it's just been it's become a teaching tool, but a really fun thing that's going to be interactive. You can draft against other people. You can do your GM mode against other people. I don't know if that's going to be how we roll it out. Um, but probably that would make sense because if you're doing the GM mode against other people, then obviously you got your same what you call it. You have different needs that you filled, and then you can go into the draft with your different needs. Hey, I needed as a Lions fan, or as the Lions GM, I've signed Tyler Linderbaum and freaking um who's that? Lane Johnson. I mean, Lane Johnson's not a free agent or anything, I don't think, but you know what I mean? So now I go into the draft and I go, all right, well, I signed Tyler Linderbaum and Lane. So now I don't need to do much with the offensive line, or I can do the offensive line later. Now I'm gonna go get defense, in the first 2 rounds, stuff like that. So yeah. What up though, Lisa? All right. Um, don't have too many mailbag questions today, so I'm gonna go ahead and skedaddle. Like I said, just as a final reminder, tomorrow's show will be closer to 10:30. As I said, I will try to get somewhere if it's not the house, where the AC is not blaring and you can hear me and I don't have to yell over it. Um, but hopefully I can get back to the house by then, and yeah, we can get it popping. All right, y'all. Once again, the Motor City Cats are indeed back at it. We came to give you stats, not none of that static. Whatever you do, make sure you keep your Lions news pragmatic. And we are out. Peace. Appreciate y'all.